Assalamu alaikum. So this is part 2 of the self-worth series that I've posted, and what I want to focus on today is having non-negotiable standards for your life, right? Non-negotiable boundaries that help you, that you don't lower when life happens, and they will help you keep moving forward towards your goal. Okay, because the problem is when you do settle for less and you do lower your boundaries, every time you do that, you lose a piece of your self-esteem. Let me explain. Sometimes we can settle in life for having a friend. We hang around with a friend, or we put up with a friend who's kind of a little bit toxic. They're okay, but they're not great for you. And sometimes, that they're not the friend that pushes you forward to help you get better. They're not the friend that sort of vibes you up and makes you feel more positive about yourself, make you believe in yourself or even value yourself. They're not the one that boosts your self-esteem. And those, the way I've just described it, those are the types of friends that you want, that they're on board, they've got your back, they really say, yeah, go for it, why not? And when you settle for that kind of a friend, it kind of leads to the next thing where you settle for okay opportunities, right? You settle for sort of, I'm a B grade student, I'm not an A grade one. And, that kind of position is not for me, I don't do things like that. I could never be head girl. I could never be head of the debate society, or I could never win that internship or win that business competition, like the Young Enterprise. We do that in the UK. So all those sort of things, you kind of like settle and you're like, nah, not me. And sometimes not having the right people around you, like in your environment. And that's what this video is focusing on, is in your environment. So the first part of that is having non-negotiables, having good boundaries. And, like I said, if you settle for less, you're more likely, it loses your self-esteem. And that could be settling for an okay opportunity, for a not great friend. And you know what, when you do settle, it affects the way you feel about yourself, and that's absolutely true. And the more aware that you are of this, you become more aware of what it's costing you. All right, because every time you settle for less, it takes a bit of your self-esteem and it costs you in your life. And the more you are aware of it, the more you can think, am I willing to pay the price? Right? Am I willing to do this and keep doing this? Because where does it end? And if you want to rehab your worth, which is what we're doing, you'll realize that settling for less is not an option. All right, it's hard to do it, but it's worth it. Okay, and you start to focus more on facts over feelings. Like the feelings, yeah, it feels hard to push myself for the A opportunity or for that, and I'm not sure if I can do it. If you feel that way, yeah, respect the feelings, but is it real? All right, we respect how you feel, but is it real? Think about the facts. The facts are, is it really true that you don't have the resources to be able to do that, to become a head girl? Is it really true that you could never be the type of person who wins the Young Enterprise? Is it really? Is there something really truly about you that holds you back from that? Or is it just what you're thinking up here? Is it just mindset? Okay, and likely the answer is not true. All right, okay, so that's the first thing. What are your non-negotiables? I want you to think about the values that you have. Think about the values, because they're really good boundaries for your life. They will protect your worth. The values keep you from making the wrong decisions when temptations turn up, and temptations turn up all the time. You don't need to do well in your GCSEs. It's okay. I could do BTEC. I don't have to do A-levels. I could do BTEC, and I can do HN. There's nothing wrong with BTEC. I love BTEC and I love vocational subjects. I think they're amazing as long as you're passionate about it. But you see, when you have values and when temptations come up, you just kind of like, you don't want to do that because it takes more out of you. There's more harder work. There's more commitment that you need. See, if your commitment is, I am determined, I am focused, I will follow through, then those values are going to be really good, because they're going to stop you from being lazy or giving up when temptation comes in. We all have temptations all the time. Like, are you the one who wants to bunk lessons and miss lessons? If you're around people who do that, remember I talked about friends. If you're around people who are like, oh, let's just bunk lessons because they don't value education or value commitment, then that's just going to pull you along into their values, right? So if you don't have values, basically you take on the values of people around you. So if you value commitment and you value education or you value, yourself, we'll talk about personal ones later, but if you whatever you value, that's going to stop you from falling behind in your goals and your temptations. So look, we have temptations to miss lessons. You have temptations to eat junk, all right? Junk food. And, that's just focused on the short-term gain, right? It's not, what about junk values? Junk values is all about now, let me be happy now, let me eat this now, let me watch this now, all that stuff, you're feeling some emptiness inside of you. Basically, when there is something empty inside of you, and I say that's that feeling of not being enough, which is why we do all the work previously, looking at your childhood and stuff like that. But when you have a hole inside of you, start filling it up with things that, really give you short-term sort of satisfaction, but not long-term. And we call them junk values, right? That you do the stuff that's not very good. You waste your time. Your mind is just watching stuff on Netflix or TikTok. Stuff that may be mildly entertaining, but it's got really no value to it. It's not going to help you reach your goals. All right, you could aimlessly watch and scroll for hours if you want, but it didn't get you anywhere. You look back and you think, oh damn, I just missed 4 hours scrolling on my phone, and I could have done something to move the needle forward, so that I could reach forward for my goals and make me feel good about myself. I mean, did you feel good after 3 hours? Most of the time, no. We're looking for another dopamine hit as we scroll and we're looking for dopamine, and it's like our dopamine receptors in our brain have just become so desensitized, and they're just thin. So it takes more and more likes and more sort of fun entertainment to give you that dopamine rush that you're looking for. Otherwise, really what you could do is just choose 3 things that you want to do out of the day, get them done, and you'll feel amazing. Anyway, side note. So when your values are not strong as who you are, if they're not as strong and they're not sort of aligned with who you are, then you run into issues. So if you have identities like I'm an athlete, I'm a focused student, I'm a trustworthy person, I'm a Muslim, I pray only to Allah, these are my values, these are my identities, then I'm more likely to be able to avoid temptation and get to meet my goals. Remember, boundaries of like halal, haram, and are important in our lives because they keep us safe. They keep us happy and protected from things that can mess up with our values and our identity. All right. It's a bit like when you go swimming in the sea. Like, I don't know if you've ever been in the Mediterranean. It's really strong, and usually have like these ropes that are going around, and it tells you, don't pass this rope because that's where it's really deep. Okay, and it's going to be hard, and maybe there's sharks there around the current, and the current could sweep you out if you go any further. So stay within the lines, because when you do that within the boundaries, then you're going to be safe. Likewise, if we stay within the lines and the boundaries of our values, our faith, our identity, our self-worth is going to be protected. All right, you're not the type of person to steal. You shouldn't, I'm not the type of person to lie. Even if it's a little white lie, I don't want to do that. That's not who I am. I'm not the type of person to coast through life and just see where I end up. Let people's values around me, the environment around me, dictate what I want to do. There's no fun in that. It works to an extent, especially if you're in a good environment with good values, but it can make you feel unfulfilled. So that's why I'm inviting you now to start thinking about what is it that you value and what could you put as a boundary for yourself to protect your self-worth. Okay, so that's what I mean. Are you the type of person who goes for opportunities? When you see them, you think, yeah, I could do that, and more than likely you're not, which is why you're here on this course. But I want to sort of invite you to that could be real for you. Why not? Why could that not be real for you? That you're the type of person that sees an opportunity and thinks, maybe I could do that, right? And ask yourself the question, is there a reason why I couldn't? Okay, so what have I got next? All right, Now, when I talked about friends and I talked about people, all right? When we have people around us that have like a low vibe or low frequency, what happens is we tend to match their frequency and their vibe. So if you have people around you who are not very confident, or they have a low energy, they're very negative, there was a moan, they will say, oh, I could have done better, or I could have done this, and it's like, what I'm trying to say, sorry, is that if they're very negative, it brings your energy down. You start to match their frequency, and you know what? It lowers your confidence as well. You start to, if your confidence is low, you start to accept less for yourself, and you lose confidence in yourself, and then of course you lose a piece of your self-worth again. So don't match your energy to people around you. Let them match your energy so that they are raised up by you. Okay, so be careful. Sometimes it happens and you don't realize, but just stop, take a look around your friendship group, or when you are in the class, or when you're at home, when you're with cousins and grandparents and things. Is my energy down here? Am I bringing people down, or people bringing me up? Like, what's going on here? Just be more aware of it. And like I said, sometimes we have friends that you've done really, really well. You've done something. Maybe you got higher on a test. Maybe you answered a question well in class, and it gave you a good feeling, that dopamine hit, right? Maybe whatever. But sometimes you rush to tell your friend or your family that, and they're just a bit moany, they're just a bit negative, or because they haven't done very well in their own life, you feel like if you share your positive news, it's just not going to land well, and then that's going to make you feel guilty, and it's going to make you feel bad about yourself. So don't do that, right? Because it can lower your energy and make you less enthusiastic about trying for more things, right? So I'm going to end this video here. What I want you to do is write down your values, right? What are your non-negotiables? What are you like? I'm always someone who goes to school, does my homework on time. I will not lie. I am trustworthy. I am, a person of faith. Whatever it is, write down your values. And then I want you to say, I will never accept blank because of blank. Okay, what are those two blanks? I will never accept blank because of blank. Because you need to know why. Like, you could say, oh, I'm never going to get a B. I'm always going to get an A. But why? Because what? What is it that an A gives you that you really want, and why not a B, right? So write down the because of. Now this has to be so important that it's like a magnet pulling you, right? And I want you to think, how can you apply the non-negotiables, the boundaries? How can you apply that to your life? All right. So why is it so important for you to get your grade A? Why is it so important for you to go to college? I'm going to do something called 7 levels deep, and I'll do that later. But just for this short video, think about your environment. Are these people bringing you up or bringing you down? What's your energy like? Are you the negative one, right? That needs to think about what are the facts over the feelings, Can you really do it? I know you feel you can't, but could you do it, right? And then and obviously number 1, which I've done as number 5 here, but the first thing was your boundaries. What are your non-negotiables? All right, what is it that makes you who you are, and what are your non-negotiables? Because remember, when you expect more for yourself, then your self-esteem goes up. So I just want you to do this and let me know how we'll go over the answers in our sessions. Assalamu alaikum.